Hi Michelle, this is Cassidy Cash with Ask Dr. Callahan. We're going to work through Geometry 11.3 number 41, and I'm actually going to refer you to page 449 where they go over the idea of a tangent, which when we talked on the phone I suspected this is what they were going to use. And it is. They draw you this right triangle and they say, okay, here's a side length A, here's a side length B, and the hypotenuse we're going to label C. And if we know this angle, which is called angle A, the reason they call it angle A is because of this point on the end here being A. If you know this angle, then you can take what's called the tangent of that angle, and tangent of that angle is equal to side length A divided by side length B. And in the problem that you're working, you'll notice that this corresponds. You have this building that's so many feet high, and we don't know. And the building itself, is tiered. So, we've got these little, parts, and then, the skinny part and a steeple or whatever. And there's actually a point E that's up at the top. But this particular problem says, here's the point D on the building, and it makes an angle with point P. And then they tell you that so you have P down here and A down here. And again, I'm just labeling this figure the same way it is in your book. They tell you that this angle is 51 degrees and that this side length is 300 feet. Again, that's all from the figure. Actually, if you want to follow along, it's on page 452 of the text where the problem is described. And they say, okay, well, based on this information in the figure and knowing that the angle here is 51 degrees, how do we know what this side length is going to be in units? And what we can do is we can apply this formula, because if you'll notice it's the same figure. So we can say, okay, tangent of 51 then is equal to this side length, which you can either call A, or I'm actually going to call it DA, which is the name of this line right there, right? Divided by 300, which corresponds to the B, right? Because it runs along the bottom. So what we can do is then just solve for DA. We multiply both sides by 300, and then it cancels over here, and DA is actually equal to this equation right here. And you can plug this into your scientific calculator and figure out, you find tangent of 51 first, which is found by either pressing tangent and then 51, or some calculators actually ask you to enter the 51 and hit tangent. That depends on your calculator. But that number, you then multiply by 300, this answer is equal to DA. I'm going to let you work through the final steps at home, compare it to your solutions manual, and if it makes sense, then fabulous. Keep going, and we wish you the best of luck. If you are struggling with it though, if you try it on your own and it doesn't make sense, please contact us. You can use the AskDrCallahan.com homework help the same way you contacted me originally. And we'll be glad to walk you through the rest of the problem as well, but hopefully this gets you started.